Notre Dame seems concerned with their matchup with Texas A&M, and frankly, I think they should be.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So, ladies and gentlemen, an article came out, and this is truly a really good article, and I agree with a lot of this, from Notre Dame's Fan Nation site. So we're going to run through this and talk about Notre Dame's thoughts on Texas A&M. And also tomorrow on Friday's show, I'm going to do a little mailbag. So if you have a question or a topic you want discussed on tomorrow's episode, leave that down in the YouTube comments. Send me a DM on X. Either which way, that'd be great. And we'll talk about some of that stuff tomorrow, as well as we will break down the matchup with Florida in the College World Series. But getting straight into this. So I want to preface this. This article, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, spoiler, at the bottom of the article, they predict Notre Dame to win this game. But I think the Notre Dame faithful believe this is going to be a challenging game. They don't think, when you read this article, there's no confidence that they're going to walk into Kyle Field and win this game by 2 touchdowns and go back home. Like it seems like the Notre Dame folks believe this game is going to be a tight one. And while I'll give you this too. I'm going to predict Texas A&M to beat Notre Dame. I just think they're going to start the Elko era with a bang, with a huge home win over a ranked team. That's my opinion right now. And now, if I had to say, it was like, Andrew, if you asked Andrew, give a percentage that Texas A&M wins and a percentage that Notre Dame wins, I'd probably say 51% to 49. I'm not out here saying 60-40, the Aggies are going to blow the doors off the Fighting Irish. Not what I'm saying. I believe that this is going to be a back-and-forth football game. I think win or lose, this is going to be a one-score game for either team. Whoever wins, it's going to be a one-score game. I just think the Aggies at home with this atmosphere, the excitement around this team, transfers, holes filled in important positions, I think the Aggies win this game. So I think that Notre Dame, I think they're fair. It's fair for Notre Dame to believe they're going to win in a close one. I think that's fair. That's what the Notre Dame side should believe. I think that's a fair take. But so this article is 5 things to know about Texas A&M, and I think it's a fun thing to run through real quick. So first thing, number 5, Mike Elko's team almost got Notre Dame last year. So Sam Hartman was there. Blue Devils had the Irish buried up to 14-13 in the final minute. And all they had to do was stop Notre Dame on 4th and 16. Hartman rumbled for a stunning first down. Estime scored the game-winning touchdown with 31 seconds left to play. So Coach Elko almost had him last year. Coach Elko knows how to play this team, and I think that is going to help a little bit. It's going to help when it comes to, it's just something about playing against a coach, playing against a program. Obviously Hartman's gone and stuff like that, but it's still a team that you've played against, a program you played against, how they play, how they want to win, stuff like that. And I do think that's going to be a benefit for Texas A&M. So I like this. Number 4 is Texas A&M quarterback Connor Wigman is a problem. He's not on national radar yet, but the Texas A&M quarterback is being talked about among the hipster NFL draft circles. They don't get out much. That's funny. As a potential high-round prospect to watch out for. He completed 69% of his throws last season with 8 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. He split time while showing off running ability to be dangerous. So if this becomes national introduce yourself to Conor Rickman Day, and Notre Dame is in big trouble. However, when it comes to the giant national movement, so I agree with that. I think that this is Conor Rickman's opportunity to say, "Hey, here I am. I'm really good. I got hurt last year. Y'all are really lucky I got hurt last year, or I would have been really good last year. And it's time for me to take over the college football world and playing Notre Dame on college game day at home in front of your home crowd is an incredible opportunity to do that." So, I think that this is a really good opportunity for Conor Rickman to go and prove to the world, hey, I'm no joke. I'm a really good quarterback, and I'm here ready to prove to y'all that is the reality. So, you know, I like that. I think it's a great point. I agree with that point. And I think that, as I've said, I think Conor Rickman was going to play really well in this game and show the world, hey, I'm no joke. I'm a good football player, and I'm here to show the world what's going on. Number 3, and this is a great one. I love that this player is grabbing attention. And it's Texas A&M defensive end Nick Gordon is a big, in capital letters, problem. There's no one who cranked up the off-the-chart enthusiasm and hype this offseason more than Gordon. The Purdue transfer came up with 10 sacks and 50 tackles last season, but it was his unstoppable play in the spring game that has him already in College Football Hall of Fame, which is, if you listen to Locked On Aggies, you would probably agree that that's true. He is really talented and dangerous, and it's not like the Irish blocking scheme can fully focus on him. That's true. With how talented Texas A&M's defensive line is as a whole, front seven is as a whole, when it comes to pass rushing, getting after the quarterback, how talented we believe that unit's going to be for this team, that's a great point. Wow, Nick Gordon's going to be really good, and he'll obviously be the number one focus of opposing offensive lines and opposing blocking schemes. You still can't throw 3 guys at him. You can't throw your whole offensive line at him. There's other talented guys on this defensive line and in this front seven that are going to get after the quarterback. So if you have to send an extra man after Nick Gordon, that gives another talented player an opportunity to go get after the quarterback. So, I think that is a really good point. And, it's something we talked about. I remember somebody commented, and it was a good point. It was like, Andrew, do you have any concerns that if Nick Gordon is as good as we believe he's going to be, could opposing teams like double team him all the time? And, he could. But, if he's really as good as we believe he is, he's going to be able to get pressure and get around and get through double teams. That's what receivers, defensive linemen in the NFL, it's what you have to do. If you want to be an elite receiver or an elite pass rusher in the NFL, you got to be able to get off double teams. And we believe Nick Gordon can do that. So I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities to prove that throughout the season. And then the second thing to know about Texas A&M from Notre Dame side of things is Texas A&M lost when it gave up a lot of passing yards last year. This is true, but I think the key word there is last year. Although I guess technically it doesn't say last year. Texas A&M lost when gave up a lot of passing yards, but it obviously means last year. And I believe that the reason this is a fair point to argue, my only pushback would be last year is the key word. This is a new staff. This is a completely new secondary. And, it'd be like saying Texas A&M struggled to bounce the ball outside last year with the running back room. Oh, we have 3 new running backs. Obviously, Texas A&M was not. I'm just saying, the point is, I think that this is a brand new secondary to where maybe they won't be great. Maybe they're not going to be as good as I believe they're going to be, as many believe they're going to be. But it's still hard to have this be an argument knowing it's a completely different unit. And this, this is stated that they went and got some new guys, but I think the secondary is going to be better. Is it going to be elite? I don't know if I'm convinced of that, but it's going to be better to where I don't think they're going to lose you a game like they did a few times last season. Tennessee, Miami, I think are 2 great examples where the deep balls were open all game long, and Bam a little bit where, it was just tough to win those games. The last thing is Texas A&M might have the best defensive front Riley Leonard will see all year. And once again, I haven't looked at Notre Dame's schedule, but it's hard to argue against this. Texas A&M's front seven, Texas A&M's defensive line is going to be really good. They're going to be able to get after the quarterback. They're going to stop the run. We all know that this is true. Once again, Nick Scorton. This is going to be a unit full of players who aren't going to struggle to get in the backfield. And I think that living in the backfield is going to be a huge plus, huge benefit for this defensive line. So I think this is another fair concern for the Notre Dame party is, hey, Riley Leonard might have guys in his face all game long, and that is not a good thing. So they predict Notre Dame to win this game 23-20, but they said it's going to be a heartbreaker where A&M is gonna go down and kick a walk-off field goal in a tight game, and that's fair. It's a fair prediction. So I think this is going to be a really good football game, and I think the Notre Dame party once again is fairly, if for fair reason, a little bit concerned about this game. This is going to be a really good football game between two talented teams, and it's at home for the Aggies. Not going to be an easy game for Notre Dame. I think this is a great article that truly shows the level of concern Notre Dame should have for this matchup with Texas A&M coming up to kick off this season. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's revisit this running back room. Am I overhyping a player? Am I underhyping a player? Are we not talking enough about a player? Let's have that conversation coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Game Time. If you listen to this show every day, you know that I love the Game Time app. I think it is the best and should be the only place anyone ever purchases a ticket to all kinds of different events, sporting events, comedy, theater, anything you could get a ticket to, concerts, anything you get a ticket to. The only place you should be doing it is on Game Time. If you wait until closer to the event, save up to 60% on last-minute tickets for all of these different things I just talked about, sports, concerts. It is the best place to get your tickets. I always am a last-minute ticket purchaser. We got Father's Day coming up this weekend. I've been trying to do the experience thing for my dad lately rather than the item thing. Usually that's what my dad does for me for is we go to sporting events and stuff like that. I've been trying to do that. We went to a Pixies concert for Father's Day last week. And once again, it was a ton of fun. And I got the tickets last minute on Game Time, got the best deal. You got to go check out Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account, redeem code LLCKEDONCOLEG for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, the lowest prices guaranteed. So I want to revisit this Texas A&M running back room. I have talked about it time and time again. When I look at this room, I am hyping up Rueben Ownes. I just read an article that listed Le'Veon Moss as a potential breakout candidate this year in college football, and this article kind of hyped up Le'Veon Moss. Now, I want to have this conversation again because I think it is so valuable to this team. I think that you have an unbelievable amount of talent in this running back room. I think even Amari Daniels is a guy who I've talked about how I believe that Rueben Owens and Le'Veon Moss are going to be the dudes. Amari Daniels is still a talented running back who I wouldn't be surprised to see touch the football a few times every single game. And, when I look at this room, my hype surrounding Rueben Owens has to do with he showed flashes last year. He showed flashes in the spring game. He was a five-star. Five-stars always take this freshman to sophomore leap. Not to say Le'Veon Moss wasn't a talented guy out of high school, but because, he was. But when I look at this room as a whole, I think Texas A&M has a really good problem. And that's something, it's a college football cliche. Oh, well, you got 4 good quarterbacks. That's a good problem to have. You got 3 elite receivers. Good problem to have. These are good problems to have. I'm not sitting here going, man, guys, darn it. Texas A&M's too talented in the running back room. Who's going to get the carries? We're in trouble. No, it's Texas A&M is extremely talented in the running back room, and they have a lot of guys who should and could be getting carries. And once again, that is a good problem to have. So I think that Rueben Owens is going to take this leap. Last year with Kansas State, Coach Klein, had about 2 running backs really take a lot of the carries. He had one guy who was the dude, and then one guy who was, kind of the change of pace, get a handful of carries a game type of guy. I think that you're going to see this running back room be a little bit more split down the middle this year than we saw for Coach Klein's offense last year. Once again, last year, it was, hey, we got a lot of talented guys in his room, but there's one real dude and then kind of like the backup. And they were the ones getting the bulk of the carries. I think that's going to be not quite the case this year for Texas A&M, because I think that Le'Veon Moss and Rueben Owens are going to get pretty similar amounts of touches. I think they're both talented. They have similar skill sets. They can both catch the football. They can both run. They can run through people. They're similar running backs. They can. I would still take Rueben Owens in the pass catching game by a hair there, but both of these guys are versatile. They can all do it all. And continuing to harp on this, but I think that Texas A&M is going to have one of the better 1-2 punches in the SEC, maybe in college football this year with these guys. Now, a lot of it's going to come down to, can the offensive line create holes for them? It's not easy to put up a good yards per carry number when you're getting contacted a yard into the backfield, every play. The offensive line is going to have to give them some help, and I think they can do that. I really do think this offensive line is going to be able to help this unit. I think they're going to be able to help this running back room run through holes, have places to go with the football, create these running lanes. I don't think there's going to be much issue there. But ladies and gentlemen, I still lean, and I remember we talked about this probably about a month ago, but I wanted to just hit it again because I think it's so valuable. But when I hit this about a month ago, I saw some split opinions in the YouTube comments, which I was expecting, and that's completely fair. It was, some people were saying, Andrew, you're crazy. Le'Veon Moss is the dude. Some people were saying, Andrew, we're with you. We think Rueben Owens is going to be a star player, have a real breakout season, and put up huge numbers for Texas A&M. And, when I kind of look at this, I think that both of these guys can be like really dominant running backs and get, like, I think there's enough work for both of them to eat. And, what does Amari Daniels do? I just have this opinion that it's going to be a 2-man running back room. I believe you'll see Amari Daniels a little bit. He'll be out there a little bit. He'll get some snaps, some carries. But for the most part, I believe this is going to be a two-headed monster. And I think these running backs are two of the most underrated running backs in the SEC. When you look up SEC running back rankings, you're not seeing Le'Veon Moss and Rueben Owens. You're seeing some transfers and some players. And I'm just telling you, I think that these guys are really going to break out onto the scene. And people are going to, in like 5-6 weeks into the season, going to go, man, low key, Texas A&M has one of the best running back tandems in all of college football. And that's kind of what I see here with these two guys. So I still lean to Rueben Owens being the guy, and I'd say it'd be like the percentage of work. I'm going 55-45. It might even be something like 53-47. I mean, it's going to be tight. I do not think it's going to be what we saw with Kansas State last year, but I still believe Rueben Owens is just a little bit more talented and has a little bit more upside. I mean, it's so close, and that's what I want to reiterate too. I'm not saying that this isn't even a race. Rueben Owens is infinitely better than Le'Veon Moss. That's not the case. This is very, very, very close. I just give a slight edge to Rueben Owens, and I think that you're going to see that lead to carries. So, we'll have to see how this plays out. Does this end up being the case? But it's a talented room, and once again, to say it one last time, it's a really good problem for this coaching staff and this football program to having a couple of really good running backs. All right, I want to have a different conversation. SEC Media Days is coming up here in about a month. We'll talk about that more when we get close to it. But I bet you in about a week or two, they announce who's going to be attending the event for the Aggies. I'm going to predict who attends the event and talk about the importance of this for Texas A&M. We'll talk about that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. So, to me, SEC Media Days in its event I've attended the last 2 years. Don't know if I'm able to make it this year. I'm going to be coming home I'm going on a trip with my buddies. We're going to Spain for the running of the Bulls. After my knee or patella dislocation, might be on the disabled list when it comes to that, but we'll have to see. I might be able to get off the IL and get back on the field, but we'll see. It's going to be tough for me to get to Media Days this year, but I'm going to try. We'll see how that works out. But, it's an event that I think really does matter for these teams. I think it's an event that really does matter for these teams and these coaches and these players. I think it gives programs, players, and coaches an opportunity to say, here we are. This is what this season looks like. And especially like, it doesn't matter as much for Kirby Smart. Okay, hey, here I am, Kirby Smart. The expectation is to win the national championship. Simple as that. We all know that. Everybody knows what he's going to go up there and say. But Coach Elko, this gives him an opportunity to go up there and talk about gives him an opportunity to go up there and talk about his thoughts on the program, his thoughts on what he's done so far during his time at Texas A&M, his thoughts about the direction of this program, his current team, what can this team do, his thoughts on some of his players. I just think we're going to learn a lot from what Coach Elko has to say at SEC Media Days. And I'm really excited to see what he has to go up there and say. So when it comes to who's going to be attending the event for the Aggies, I bet he sends the captains. I bet Terrion York and Trey Zune go. The only thing I could see is if he wanted to send some older players, so he doesn't send Terrion York knowing that, hey, he's a sophomore. He has a lot more SEC Media Days ahead of him. Maybe he sends him next year. That'd be the only reason I don't see Terrion York going, but I just think that Coach Elko is a senior captains kind of guy. And then I think he sends Connor Wigman. I do. I think that a lot of times, I always say this: your quarterback is the face of your program. That's just the reality here. Your quarterback is the face of the program. Connor Wigman is the face of this program. We talked about that, a couple weeks ago with that video game or magazine, that video game, the magazine having Quinn Ewers and Connor Wigman on it. Connor Wigman is the face of this Texas A&M football program. And I think sending them to Dallas for SEC Media Days gives him an opportunity to, get to know the world a little bit. Let the world get to know him. Texas A&M fans know him from interviews and stuff like that. But does the college football community know Connor Wigman? And I'd say the answer to that is no. So I think this would give him an opportunity to get to know the college football world and let the college football world get to know him. So that's my guess. I also wrote down Moose, Tariq Chappelle, and Nick Scorton as 3 potential options to send if you don't send any of these guys. But if I feel weirdly confident that those are going to be the guys that attend this event for Texas A&M. I think that's who you're going to see out there, and I think that it's going to be a really interesting event for these players and this coaching staff, and we're going to get to know a lot more about Coach Elko and all of these players. So I am really anxious to see how that plays out. So that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. I do want to say once again, if y'all have any topics you want discussed on the show tomorrow or questions you want answered, leave those in the YouTube comments or DM them to me on X. My X is right here on the screen at Andrew Stefaniak. So leave those for me. We'll do that tomorrow. We'll also break down the matchup with the Gators in Omaha for the College World Series. That game's coming up, and I can't wait. We'll talk about those two things on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you all so much for being here every single day. I really do appreciate it. I hope everybody has an outstanding rest of their day today, and we will see you tomorrow.